Well, just done with the papers, and I'm sure you're now up to speed with what's happening in our nation, Nigeria, and then also all over the world. So this morning on The Big Story, we'll be delving into an upcoming event that's the Meet Africa Fashion Festival 2025, and it has a theme unfolding the creative possibilities of Africa, and it's scheduled to take place in Asaba. But I will not be doing this alone. I have a key figure instrumental to bringing the vision to life. That is the President Governing Council Meets Africa Fashion Festival, Mafest. That's Mr. Charles Ozoimena. Good morning, and thank you for joining me on The Big Story this morning.
Thank you, Marvelous, and thank you, viewers.
All right, we're delighted to have you. So let's just head straight to business. Tell us a little about Mafest. What is it all about?
Okay, Mafest is, I would describe it as a child of circumstance that emerged because of the gap in the fashion and garment industry. When we studied the global fashion structure and the status of it, we discover, for instance, the industry is worth $2 to $2.5 trillion.
Wow.
Africa's share there is just 1%. And with a huge population of over 1.4 billion people, our share is just 1%. So found it very ridiculous, and that gave us a kind of a bump that there is need for us to begin to, create awareness and say, look, it's not sustainable in Africa, and so we came up with this idea of Meet Africa Fashion Festival, which is bringing all the stakeholders from across the continent. For us, first of all, to showcase the sartorial marvels and creativity of Africans in the area of fashion designing, and then also promoting our garments, and of course influencing governments in Africa for them to look into that very sector, which is the second largest creator of jobs and wealth for women and youth in sub-Saharan Africa. And we have focused too much back home here in Nigeria, focused too much on oil and gas. And then can we have a non-oil generating sector that can match ICT and oil, and that's the fashion and garment. And we are very rich people when it comes to textiles, and Africans are also mixing contemporary ideas with traditional tones in their fashion statements. And you can see the one you have just put in here. It's a contemporary idea of where the fashion is going. So that is basically the idea for us also to stimulate, convince Africans for them to look more African and stop looking more of European, even where our women are more running, are more crazy of looking like a white woman. So wearing the wigs and all whatnot. It's not African. And a European woman is not crazy of looking African. So why are we crazy of looking like them? And then we continue to know the capital flight that Nigeria experiences, even in importing those wigs and all whatnot. We continue to spend money feeding other countries. And if you look at it, another idea is that we studied when we found out that, look, countries are now looking at fashion and garment to end foreign exchange into their country. And I give you statistics. The total Chinese export, 40% of it is fashion and garment. 40%. And the US earn over 300 billion annually from exports of fashion and garment. Sri Lanka, total 70% of Sri Lanka's GDP, fashion and garment contribution. Then look at Cambodia, you look at Vietnam. Vietnam is now taking over shoe industry and all footwears and all whatnot. And annually, 28.8 billion pairs of shoes are produced annually. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
And it's all coming. How many are we producing? Our textiles are dying. We used to boast of about 180 textile industry here in Nigeria before. But today, where are we? Everything have crumbled to about 10. Out of that 10, only 4 is functioning. The other 6, epileptic. And we continue to focus on oil. And then there are so many fashions. We also want to change, empower those who are in that industry. Particularly those, our youths and women that are involved in the designing and all whatnot. Let's empower them. How do you empower them? By stimulating the market, by changing policies that support the business. And that's how you can. And of course, training, giving them training, and that is the way you also, create a business empire, enable them to create a business empire, ride on those crests, and then, rise to stardom. And that's what Mafest is all about. And we are just taking it one step after the other.
Yes.
And it doesn't just end in doing the show. Immediately after the show, we're engaging in Texas Summit, where we're mobilizing all other stakeholders from the textile industry in Nigeria for us to do. And even anywhere we go in Africa to stage it, that is what we do. We're also trying to help create a kind of a niche for the modeling industry.
Okay.
Where you have young girls who have the capacity to become the Oluchi of tomorrow. But what are we doing? We're not exploring that angle. And so many of our girls don't have, opportunities, in that very area that can unlock their worth to greatness. So we're also promoting that very area. That's why we have singled out, after this very edition, we're doing the Mafest Model of the Year competition, where we're going to give our models opportunities for them to compete and then have opportunities to share cosmopolitan runways with their contemporaries in the global modeling circuit. So that's our plate, and we hope that the Nigerians will support us, Delta State will support us, Africa will support us, because what we are bringing to the table is also to help government, to take good positions, good policies that will aid and advance the prosperity of these people, of the people.
Okay, so you talked about how, basically Nigerian women, you see them trying to display, you see them when they dress up, they're trying to copy the foreigners, white people.
Exactly.
Do you think that maybe colonialism had something to do with this? Because you take a look at the corporate world here in Nigeria now, you go to the banks, you go to even governments and public parastatals, you see the way they dress Monday to Thursdays. Fridays are the only days that, yes, you can, even here, I'm only looking like this because it's Friday. If I come like this on Monday, I will get sanctioned. So, these are some of the policies that we have to revisit. But what other policies do you think the government can bring up to sort of shift, I don't know if I should say, our thinking or our mindset towards, looking more African?
First, what I identify is mental slavery.
Mental slavery.
Yes.
Okay.
And when you are not proud of, you are not contented with what God has given you, it has to do with you as a person. Because there are girls and there are women who don't make up, no matter what they do.
Yes.
And there are women who also, they only wear African-made clothes. We have to shift our mentality. That's the first liberation that we have. So we are psychologically in chains. Like you said, the banking industry and the broadcast industry can change the narrative. Because when you continue to wear those Western style of formal dress, and even the insulting part of it is that when you wear their dress, you say it's formal. When you now look our own African, you say it's not formal. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
So it's a mental slavery that we've engaged over the years, and will continue to pass it on from one generation to the other, onto one generation. And come on, we want to say no. Come on. If you look at what Indians are doing, I'll give you an example. An Indian woman cannot dress properly without her sari.
Yes.
And without her choli. All of them, Indians are looking Indians. They were able to fortify their mentality not to be colonized or having a trace of colonialism, in their lifestyles after they secured their independence. Majority, they took what is best for them into the vehicle, into the global vehicle, and they are now also, sometimes our women want to look India.
Yes.
Are you getting the point?
Yes.
If you see, it's you that can display proudly who you are without giving a bet of an eye for you to look like the European that will not look like an African, except if you want to do it for fun. For fun. That's when they do it. And India, look at what India is doing. India has, for instance, about 180 fashion hubs.
Okay.
Yes. Nigeria, we don't have any fashion hub. We don't have. What we say, typical fashion hub, we don't have. And in the whole of Africa, we don't have up to 100. We have about 54 countries in Africa. We don't have up to 180 fashion hubs. We don't have. Everything is dying. Rather, the Chinese people are taking our own clothing. Now they want to begin to take our culture to go over there in China, manufacture it, and bring it down here. And we are purchasing. And we are not seeing anything evil about it. Evil. I maintain evil. Because it goes against our economic, prosperity. It's kind of, it hits us very hard. But we don't know what is going on. There are markets over there booming. The industries are booming. We are merely consuming nation. Look at Delta, for instance.
Yes.
Why are we bringing it here to Delta? Delta has one of, I don't know whether they have discovered it, one of the finest fabrics. If you look at the aquaculture I have mentioned, for instance, aquaculture has the flexibility of being converted into different forms of household items, apart from the clothing.
Oh, wow.
And of course, you can use it to do shoe.
Yes.
Are you getting the point?
Yes.
You can use it to do bags. You can use it to do even the belts. You can use it to do muffler. You can use it to do throw pillows. You can use it to do whatever you think. And the texture of the material is very, very strong and enduring. So can we add value to it? You give that textile a different value altogether, so that we can gain access to international market and begin to mass produce them for export. And Africans, Europeans would even find it worthy to buy. And it will have a spiraling effect, because the industries here, those who are making it, will be more economically exposed and empowered, and opportunities created for them. So these are all what we are bringing onto the table. To say, government, look, this is the direction to go.
Yes.
If you look at the Sokos have their textiles, the Robos have their textiles, the Jaws have their textiles, and these textiles are very, very durable materials. So how do we begin to mass produce them? But for us to mass produce them, we have to give them an extension of a life format into valuable product. And that's why we also will engage in training after this very show. And then when we're doing Mafest Model of the Year, one of the sidelines that we want to do is a workshop on circular economy, how to expose emerging fashion designers on how they can use, the fashion industry generates one of the highest volumes of waste from those things, the pieces they cut.
Yes, yes.
Are you getting the point?
Yes.
So we now want to teach them how to do what? How to bring it back, weave them into other materials. So we're going to teach them into, several environmentally conscious, what we call eco-friendly conscious wares, which they can use those waste materials. We call it waste to wealth. So we can teach them how they can do it. And we have experts that we are bringing that will do that in order to empower emerging fashion designers from Delta State. Now, because that is the way the fashion industry is going, we call it sustainable fashion, where Adidas, for instance, makes their clothes, jerseys, t-shirts,
Yes.
outer jackets from bottled water. That's their raw material. So they have companies that they have given the contract to go to the water shores, and go to communities, begin to pack this, PET bottles.
plastic,
Yes. You see them carrying them large, and these are all what they are doing, and then converting them into reusable materials which they use in doing their clothes. That's where the world is going. So we'll need to produce the next generation of emerging fashion designers. We'll be conscious of the environment and be able to also, engage in upcycling and recyclability in producing their fashion pieces. So that's the direction, and these are all what we're bringing onto the plate here in Delta State through the Mid-Africa Fashion Festival.
Okay, that's quite an interesting one. Well, from everything you've said, it's going to take a whole lot of effort. Talking about upscaling the fashion industry, there's going to be better equipment needed,
Yes.
manpower. If there is no one interested, where would you even get people to come work for you? So once the need is there, I do believe that once the need is there, and then the industries begin to grow, people will get more interested in that line of a business. But let's talk a little about the theme, unfolding the creative possibilities of Africa. What inspired the selection of the theme?
Yeah, Africa is it's a home of creativity. If you look at from the ancient of days, the crafts, our arts, everything is beautiful. If you look at those fabrics,
Yes.
but what it took our forefathers to create those images on those fabrics that is still sustainable till today. There's no any effort to also tamper with them so that we can retain their traditional status. Now, if you go to the music,
Yes.
if you go to the film industry, if you go to our fashion, it's all about creativity. So what are we doing? The theme, for instance, our slogan, unfolding the creative possibilities of Africa, is that, look, we want to showcase to the world that Africa, it's a beehive it's an encyclopedia of creativity. And that's why even our arts were stolen in those days during the slavery. And of course, when you go to the British Museum, for instance, where they put all those things, there's nothing about British, about those areas. It's all about relics that they have
Yes.
picked from here and there where they colonized and taken, mostly African arts.
Yes.
Are you getting the point? Now, when you come to the fashion industry, if you look at what we are doing in haute couture, avant-garde, streetwear, party wears, beach wears, and all whatnot, it tells you that, look, Africa is a depository of ideas, of creativity. So now, again, the possibilities there is also telling Africa, look, there are possibilities in this industry. Can we explore it? Can we showcase what we have got for the world to also embrace and want to look African? Because, like I said, you need to be confident of yourself. When you proudly display who you are and what you are, and you sustain it, people will want to emulate you. People want to be like you because there's this self-confidence that
Yes.
exudes in you,
Yes.
and which anybody that sees you knows that this is a man or a woman of steel, a woman of class, a woman that is proud of who she is. And that is why you find out that who are the models you talk about? Who are the models that will emulate? The models are people who try to create a panache in their own personality. And those level of attraction is what you admire in them, that you want to be like them. So that's why it's not good for you to belong to the crowd. Be your own person and let people know that this is who Marvelous is at any time. And you find out that the generation that are coming will want to be like you.
Yes.
Because you have been able to do what? To display in that lavish resplendor that this is who Marvelous is. And you are proud of it, and you don't want to look like any other person. So when others are wearing their wigs, wanting to belong to the crowd, are you getting the point? You don't wear wig. When a Nigerian woman weaves her hair, do you see the beauty that comes out of it? Do you see how clean she looks? How attractive, how unique she looks? Go to churches on Sunday and see when they wear their African attire, how they look. That is the way God has created an African to be. And the men are racing towards being more African now than our women.
Yes.
That's why you see everybody is trying to wear senator this and that. So the men are embracing Africa. And we now want our women to come and embrace Africa. And forget this identity crisis. Some of them will wear white hairs and all whatnot. These are strange. These are not how God created a black woman. God knows why he gave us to be black. And it's only in Africa. Only in Africa that God created both the black and a white woman and a yellow woman. Look at you. In Europe, it's all white. In Asia, it's all white. If you see any black, these are people who are from slaves. Are you getting the generation of slaves that are looking black? That is why Africa, God created Africa and put two colors there. It's only in Africa here, no any other place. If you go to Australia, the continent, what? If you see blacks there, yeah, they'll have blacks, but these are also slaves that were taken generations gone by.
Yes.
And then they now begin to set up families and all that. So if you go to that country like Swaziland, these are all, you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so we should be proud of who we are. Yes.
All